Shut up, the football's on and I've had enough. Shut up, the football's on.
It's not just me that likes the song, right? Have you downloaded it yet?
Yeah, I know, get downloaded, eh? Come
Download
on.
Lost as well.
Do
It's
the
on
lads a
YouTube.
favour.
It's nice. It's a good
Yeah.
song. Good song.
Some band.
Yeah.
Right, welcome back to the Perfect Balance podcast.
Episode DOS.
Dos tres? Dos. Or
Dos.
tres? Dos.
Well, pilot's the pilot.
Yes.
This is like too proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now it's your turn to be interviewed,
my
sir.
turn.
So we'll have Daniel Micah here.
Hello.
And now, Dan, what I want to ask you is, how did you start to support whatever team that is there on your shirt?
As
How did you
a
start?
boy born and bred in Dundee.
Aye.
Well, as you mentioned last week,
Yeah.
because of course we've waited a week to record this next podcast, Marc definitely hasn't just changed his shirt.
We've not seen a thing.
No. As you mentioned last week, you didn't have maybe the traditional route to finding your team.
No.
I did, in the sense that I support the same team my dad supported.
And that's how it often starts as well, Daniel, isn't it?
My dad grew up in a place called, he was born in a place called Addy Brown Hill, which is in like West Lothian. And he moved to a wee village called Logan Lee, which is roughly where Livingston is now.
Oh, right, yeah,
But this is before
right.
Livingston was built.
Uh-huh.
So basically, in this wee village, the kids that did like football, you were either Hearts, Hibs, Celtic or Rangers. That was the teams. Now my dad's was there's a lot of brothers. So there was Raymond Ronald, who's my dad, Raymond, Ronald, Paul, Jimmy, Joan, Manty, Joan and Murray. So one of 6 kids. He was the second oldest. My oldest uncle was a big Hearts fan. But
Hearts, glorious Hearts. Eh?
so it was Raymond was a Hearts fan, and then the youngest Murray ended up being Hibs. But I think all the brothers were Hearts fans,
Yeah.
and they'd took my dad to Tynecastle when he was like kid. They ever starting to go football. Raymond was a Hearts fan, so they would go to Edinburgh, go to Hearts. But again, he was kind of like you almost, that he never felt anything towards Hearts, but he would go because it was football.
Yeah.
And my dad tells me that the first time he felt a connection to a team was when he went to see a Hearts Celtic game,
Right.
and he just like thought,
Wow.
he's in the Hearts
this
head,
is
and
it,
he was like,
yeah.
no, I like this lot. He's like, yeah, he says I just like the way they played. And because he never had that attachment to Hearts, he was like, "No, this is
That's
the team for me."
one.
And that's how he ended up. That's how he ends up supporting Celtic.
Uh-huh.
And naturally, because my father's a Celtic fan, I became a Celtic fan.
Exactly.
And I went through the whole childhood of, you're a wee glory hunter, man. You support Celtic because they win stuff and blah blah blah. Well, it wasn't at all. That's
the thing, Dan. I mean, obviously, where we are from is Dundee. It's a very small city, and you know, you always think. I mean, growing up, support your local team and things. But as you say,
well, I grew up in Lochee, so the local team is Celtic in Lochee.
well, that's very true. I mean, for you
Irish
guys back home that are watching that aren't from Dundee, it's a very Lochee's like little kind of
Little Tipperary.
yeah, it's little Tipperary, yeah. So it's very got its Irish roots there. So yeah, so it's often associated with Celtic fans, isn't it? Yeah. So, but that's the thing. I'm from Lochee as well, but. Yeah, but I mean,
you're a Rangers fan.
Well, when it began, yeah, it was a bit. So
then he left
Lochee,
kicked out.
Yeah, it shows you though, doesn't it? I mean, like you say though, for people, I think that's the same for most people watching this. When you're growing up, you often support who your family supports, as we know, you know, and that's the way it is. But it's obviously an interesting story with your dad there as well.
The older you get as well, I think the funnier it becomes, the whole like, oh, you should be supporting this, you should be supporting that. I know for a fact I've been to more games at Dens and Tannadice, for example, in the home end, as a lot of Dundee and Dundee United fans that I know.
No, you're right. I mean, that's the thing as well.
So, there's a lot to be said for that.
I mean, the credit is where credit's due, Dan, right? Is that a lot of people say you should support your hometown team because it's more accessible for you to get to games. But credit to you, you go to basically all Celtics games when you're allowed to.
I can, yeah.
You know? I mean, not right at this moment, but
I've had a season ticket since I was 16, because when I can afford it. Before that, it was hard to get season tickets, like back in the Martin O'Neill days, Golden Strachan days, they were like gold dust. Then Tony Mowbray came in and made it very.
Success years.
Tony Mowbray came in and suddenly made it very easy to get a season ticket.
But we won't get on to that just now. So I mean, that's how obviously you started supporting your club, was basically through your dad. Obviously, he's brought you up supporting Celtic.
Yeah. Well, you say that as well. You didn't force it on me.
No,
That
you
was one
kind of
thing.
just
I kind of again. We'll move on to that. I kind of gravitated towards Celtic myself, but once I kind of made the general sort of suggestion towards it, he was. But he wasn't. He didn't want to be one of those dads who's like, right,
you're
supporting this
them.
team.
Yeah,
But let's just say he was happy when I
chose
chose
the boys.
Yeah, the boys.
So I mean, that moves on to then your first memories of football. Then, Dan. So I mean, was there a specific moment that you thought, what, I like this?
My first memory of football, and very topical right now, was the day that Celtic stopped Rangers winning 10 in a row.
Oh.
But of course, I didn't know this. We talked about it last week.
You didn't know the significance.
You went to a cup final with Dundee and you thought, this is what Dundee do. We have big days out in Glasgow, these big massive games, like fireworks and all that, and stuff like that. Like, this is what happened.
Yeah.
My first football match I can remember watching was Celtic versus St Johnstone. Henrik Larsson pinging it in the top corner after like 5 minutes. Place erupting. Harold Bratback, the lethal finisher that he was. I don't know if you know Harold Bratback. He was notorious among Celtic fans for dismissing sitters all the time.
Right.
He eventually bagged one in.
Right.
With like, I think it was 15-20 minutes to go. Secured the league. Stopped 10 in a row.
So when was
and
this?
This was in 1997, I think it was. 97, 98, around about that time. So I was only like 4 or 5, but I can remember that game. And the reason I can remember it, maybe it sticks out in my mind, is because what I ended up doing that day was becoming the like score update guy for my dad. My dad was far too nervous to watch that game. He's never been like that since then.
Yeah.
He's always been fine. But that day,
it was just the significance
again,
of it.
because it was like, no, we need to do it. We need
Yeah.
to make sure that the Lisbon Lions record stays intact. We need to kind of have Rangers beating us. And not only that, I think he had quite a sizable bet on Celtic to win that day.
Oh wow!
Because he put 2-0 on. And
did it finish that?
it finished
so
2-0, yeah. And
Wow.
he still never told me how much money he won that day, which suggests that he had quite a... And he's not a big
that's
gambler.
why
He's not a big gambler, man.
That's why he retired early.
Yeah, exactly. But apparently that was the day where I saw how happy the green and white mob, this green and white mob and the dreadlocked guy on the TV, how happy he made my dad. And I was like, so this is the team you like?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, well, I like them too then.
Really? That's
So
how it came about then.
And I just thought every game finished with like a big massive party and like lifting the cup up in the air. And I was like, didn't know. But that was the day I became a Celtic fan.
That's mental, eh?
Yes, that's my early.
So that's like your first memory. So you were about
and
4.
and I can also, and the other one I remember.
That's crazy though.
The other one I
being 4
remember
years
is
old.
Scotland v Brazil in the World Cup.
Oh right, yeah.
And I remember getting really upset because we got beat by Brazil. And my dad was
Brazil.
like, "It's actually a good result, son. Like only getting beat 2 or 3-1, I think it was."
Yeah. But what was that? That was the last time Scotland were at a major
World Cup,
tournament, wasn't it? Yeah. That's madness, isn't it? But that's crazy that you were only that young and you can remember that. That is nuts. I mean, so like obviously you've touched on that's what you can remember back then. I mean, so you mentioned obviously the guy with dreadlocks and Henrik Larsson, the beautiful man. Yeah.
Kings.
That's it.
God.
And so was that your icon? Kind of growing up, still is. Yeah. Was there anyone else, or was he just kind of the top?
There's nobody that could get near him. I loved a lot of players around him, but Larsson's different level. He's the best.
Yeah. Well, for what Celtic? Yeah. And
there's
obviously
a reason,
that's what you've seen, isn't it?
There's a reason that he's the only foreign player, for example, to get into the best of 11 at Celtic. Like in terms of voted by the fans, and that was while he was still playing. He got voted into that thing. He's so good, like, and he could have played for any team in the world, but the fact that he stuck around at Celtic, and he proved that. He went on past his prime and won a Champions League for Barcelona.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. I watched that game the other day actually. You know when he came on, and he made that difference, didn't he? Yeah, it was. You know how you get the full match replays on BT and that, it's brilliant. Hey, I watched that whole game, came on, made the difference to set up the 2 goals, as you say.
People
He was
who
a
haven't,
brilliant player.
people who
We'll
have
know
not
that.
watched Henrik Larsson, go back and obviously you hear Celtic fans bang on about him all the time. Guys my age, older than me, who are lucky enough to see him. We're not joking. The guy was different
Yeah, he was
level.
different class.
You need to go back and watch Larsson.
Because
The way-
like you say-
not just his goals, the way he played the game, his movement, his determination,
He's a very clever
everything.
player.
The hair. And they
Aye,
cut it off,
man,
they
yeah.
still look cool.
Yeah. Aye, he's a cool guy, he definitely is. And obviously, what you always remember was that chip as well, don't you?
Yep.
That's, like, even with obviously not being a Celtic fan, or, you know what I mean, you always remember that goal, don't you? It was just different class for him to
Unbelievable.
try that. And
Do that to
for
Stefan
it-
Kloss.
it was
Champions League winning goalkeeper.
Exactly, it was like he didn't even try, you know, to do it.
Just
It
did
was
it.
just casual as you like. It was just
Won the European Golden Boot that season, 53 goals.
shows you, you know, he is some player, and that obviously we understand that. As you say, I mean, if there's younger viewers watching back home that may be like, oh yeah, I've heard this guy. Obviously, you probably watch a couple of things, but as you say, just watch a bit more of him as well, you
so
know, and
good.
not just the goals, but general playing that, the way he played, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, later on in his career, Barcelona, Man U.
He proved all those
Simple.
doubters wrong. Oh, you never did it in the Premier League, that old chestnut. Or you never. Well, you went and did it in Spain,
Yeah.
in Europe. So
Yeah, and it just shows you all. He was obviously you know, a lot of people class him as that world class type.
he was a world class.
He wouldn't have
Absolutely,
got,
was a world class
he
player.
obviously wouldn't have got to that level if people didn't
Totally.
think he was world class. And it's funny though, because
There's a
obviously
reason
people dismiss the SPL. You know, the level and standard of the SPL a lot of the time. A lot of people obviously like to play it down, especially down south. But obviously a player of that calibre.
And there was a reason that Sir Alex Ferguson tried to sign him like every season.
Yeah, exactly.
kept saying no.
Yeah.
Martin O'Neill was like, no.
It shows you though, doesn't it? It really opens your eyes.
Imagine like Larsson and Van Nistelrooy up front back then.
Scary, isn't
Good thing he never went.
All
yeah.
ifs and buts, eh?
But yeah, he's my earliest.
That's
my earliest memories are around that time, and
That's your first memory.
he's-
It's purely like
he's the
Larsson
man.
then.
he's the man.
That's it. And you've got the shrine in your house, don't you?
Yeah,
Dan?
my dad's used to be an art teacher, so he's a very good painter, and he's did me a lovely wee painting of Henrik. And it's after he scored that goal against Rangers in the 6-2 game. Chip, brilliant.
Yeah, class, mate. So I mean that obviously, like you've spoke about your earliest memories then. So from then, Dan, I mean, what was the first match you ever went to?
It was again because it was so hard to get tickets for Parkhead back then. We ended up getting tickets to an away game, and it was at Tapedeck. And I was watching the highlights of it this morning, and I would have been just turned 8. It was 2001, so it was the season after we'd won the treble. Martin O'Neill's first season, it was the second season, and we went away to Tapedeck and just smashed them 4-0. And like, again,
Casual as you like.
Oh, but it was again. I was just so excited again. First time I'd been at a football
course.
match. Period. Never mind a Celtic game. Like you were saying about Dundee, it was under the lights, so I got that. I was
Experience,
like, oh my god, this is amazing. Packed Celtic end at Tapedeck, so you had the whole Jerry Kerr and what's now the Eddie Thompson stand down the side, and the shed was full as well.
Just the atmosphere for you. As
So
well.
like banging the table
Yeah,
there.
don't
I used
bang
to,
the
I
table,
know
Dan.
telling you off
Yeah.
on it. Something about the seat, isn't it? You just bang the table.
Exactly.
Atmosphere's unbelievable. Party Celtic have been riding this wave of momentum since O'Neill came in. The party's still going, and then John Hartson smashes one in after like 4 minutes, and you're like, oh, here we go. This is amazing.
Party time. Yeah. I mean, especially like you say, there's something about it being under the lights as well, isn't it? Like I think that's the way most people remember their first games. You know, because I've spoke to other people as well. The first games, and
Remember
it's
night
always
games?
that under the lights.
What's funny is
Something
that
special about it, isn't it?
my
It's
dad
just,
always tells me that again Celtic are like, this is like amazing away performance. Like you're like beating United 3-0 at the time in the second half, but apparently I was a bit miserable because Larsson hadn't scored yet. He's like, they're winning 3-0. He's like,
Yeah.
no, Larsson's not scored yet. Can you see Larsson? And then we're about 10
Hartson did though.
Petrov and I can't remember who got Alan Thompson scored a free kick.
Oh,
Baller. Get on to him later.
some strike.
And then with about 10 minutes to go, Larsson pops up. He'd done nothing. And this was a very good trademark of Larsson. He was a very quiet game. So then just like all good strikers do, out of nowhere, pops up on the shoulder, smashes it in off the post. 4-0. Dan's happy. He's seen his hero score in his first game.
First game, mate.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, mate. That's what football's all about. So is it your dad that you went with then?
Yeah.
It was your dad. Yeah. I mean, obviously you've basically told us the
That
score
was
there.
that was my first away game, or my first game period. My first home game I can't remember as well. I know it was against Motherwell. My mum took me, and it was against Motherwell, and I remember us going 1-0 down, and my mum was like, "Oh no," like because we won. I remember we won.
Yeah.
I can't remember that game nearly as well, but probably because it wasn't my first game.
Exactly.
But the United game, that's
the one for you.
Yeah.
So how old were you then, Dad?
I would have just turned 8.
About
2001.
8.
So just turned 8.
Brilliant.
Because my mum was like, "Oh, I didn't want him going to Parkhead. There's like too many people. Blah blah blah. He's just a wee boy."
And obviously you were in Dundee anyway, so that was easy for you, wasn't it, to go to the game? But that's brilliant. Eh? That's what it's all about, me. Especially under the lights. That's the one. I mean, as you've said obviously the score it finished 4-0. So do you remember the lineup then from that day?
You would have had Douglas. Now, if I can remember this, I'm looking at it this morning. You would have Jackie McNamara. I think Stephen Craney was playing left back.
Oh,
do you remember him?
was he at?
Aye.
All right, okay.
He started at Celtic.
All right.
He ended up at Blackpool.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he started at Celtic.
Because a lot of people rate him highly as well.
Yeah,
he was a good player, wasn't he?
He was a good player.
Yeah.
The problem he had then was that Celtic didn't play with fullbacks all the time. Until he knew it was a lot of like just centre halves and wing backs, so he didn't really get as much of a game. Then you had Balde, Mialbe, I think Petrov was playing, Lennon, Lambert, Thompson, and it was Larson, Hartson up front.
Strong team, eh?
Some team.
That is a strong team, that. Yeah, I mean, that shows you, that was kind of like Celtic when they were in their prime as well, wasn't it?
It was also in four O'Neill years. You had the treble season, and then the year after that, they won the league, and I think they set the record points total until Rodgers beat it at that point. And then the third season was the UEFA Cup final, and then the fourth season was Larson's last season, and they won a double. Yeah. That was those 4 years mental.
So that's
when I first started going to games.
Yeah,
like semi-regular when you could get tickets, because again they were like gold dust back then.
Demand, yeah, popular demand.
But that was,
as you say, with Celtic filling out all those stands as well. You know,
you're lucky to get to a game back then if you want a season ticket holder.
Because I was away to say, I was surprised you didn't end up in the home end, getting a ticket in the home end to go to see your first game. You know, but that's class, man. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And so I mean, moving on from that, then, mate. I mean, you seem to remember it quite well. So
you know
what was like
from the start with stuff like that.
What was like your best match day experience then? What was the one for you? Because obviously your first game's always special, isn't it? But is there a particular game?
I've been obviously blessed, being born in the era that I've been blessed in. Born in, sorry. So there's a lot to pick from, but it doesn't get much better than beating Rangers 5-0 at home to win the league title.
I'm sure it doesn't, mate.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And especially that season as well, because there was still that. It's weird. There's almost like an element of doubt sometimes that that goes along with derbies under the Rodgers era. I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first one. It's funny to think about it now, but Moussa Dembele wasn't seen as like, oh, is this guy? I don't know how good he is. Blah blah blah. Then Griffiths was injured for that game. Dembele came in and scored the hat-trick. It was the first Celtic hat-trick against Rangers for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And similarly in this game that I'm talking about, I think Dembele was either injured or suspended, and Griffiths was out of it as well. Mm-hmm. And it was Edouard that played. And this was before Edouard was like the guy that he is now. You hang your hat on him, like he's the boy. Mm-hmm. He was third choice striker at the time.
I remember
he was on loan from Paris.
Yeah.
And fair enough, he'd scored the winner like a few weeks before Ibrox came on, but it was like, don't know, like can you? And again, obviously Rangers have gone ahead of Celtic now, but again, this is at the time where Celtic was so far ahead of them, and it was like, but they were still. I wonder if Edouard can like lead the line against Rangers.
Yeah,
is he good enough? Will they blow this chance to win the league at Parkhead?
Yeah,
Dembele and Belly's out, Griffiths out. Edouard's like, right, this is my time to shine. 2 goals, and I think he set up another 2 goals. We were 3-0 up at half time. James Forrest got his first goal against Rangers as well.
Really? Was that his first?
He'd been playing for Celtic for nearly 10 years. First derby goal. Michael Lustig stole a policeman's hat and put it on in a celebration.
I remember that, Dan, because I remember after that game, like you messaged in the chat and you're like, just wow.
Yeah.
I mean, from that alone,
being there with my dad watching that as well.
It was just, would have been some day for you, mate.
And Lennon had just come back at that point as well.
Yeah.
No, sorry, no, that was the year after. Sorry, sorry, I'm talking.
Yeah,
Rodgers was there at that point. That's what I meant to say.
Aye.
And that was just the peak of that time. That was probably the peak of that 9 in a row period. Was probably that game, beating Rangers 5-0 to win the league at home. Unbelievable game.
I mean, I
haven't seen an atmosphere like that.
I know I'm going off like topic here slightly, but I mean, obviously you've been, as you say, you've been blessed with like the era you've been born into, and obviously the teams that you've seen play. You know, for
and
Celtic.
I know that. That's the problem I've got with a lot of Celtic fans. They take a lot of the stuff for granted.
Well, you see it recently, don't you, about them all outside and
all those idiots outside when we got beat by County in the cups. Like, get a grip.
I know. It's crazy, you know, because like when you think about like myself being a Dundee fan.
I know, like
United
that's what I want to get home these guys.
It's
like try supporting like
a modern or something, you know.
99% of clubs.
Exactly.
Don't get anywhere
like,
near.
Look how lucky you are for winning what you've won.
I know.
All those years, you know, and that's kind of like what annoys you. But I know that's kind of like what ruins that kind of reputation for, you know, Celtic fans in general, because obviously you're all not like that. We know that, but I mean that's
some of us are right.
But you're an exception. But I mean, but my point was, mate, right? Because obviously, as you said, you've been blessed with that era there, right? With the football you've seen. I mean, what would you say? I mean, the thing is, obviously, when you're getting older now, you'll start to understand the game more. You kind of appreciate it a bit more, maybe, you know, compared to when you were younger. Would you say maybe like, did you think like the Rodgers era was kind of like the top standard of football that Celtic have played compared to back then, maybe like obviously from the first time that you watched them, obviously maybe the calibre of players is a bit better, isn't it? You know, like, what I mean? Do you think it's just maybe a change with the game of
two
football?
obvious like ones to compare, like Rodgers and O'Neill.
Yeah.
But so different ways of playing the game.
Aye, because there was obviously a lot more direct, weren't there? But obviously Rodgers has got that patience and build up, doesn't he?
The one thing that O'Neill's got over Rodgers is the European stuff.
I suppose.
Because Rodgers did nothing in Europe.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So you've answered the question there. So it's probably O'Neill that you favour with then.
He's got Larson.
Well, that's it, mate. He's your hero, is he? So like, if you're going to go that way, yeah, definitely. It'd be interesting because obviously you've had so much success with Rodgers, you know, and for what he's won, you know, and obviously
I miss him. I do.
Didn't quite complete the 10 in a row as well, you know. That was obviously a big.
We should have just signed John McGinn.
Well, do you know me, Niall McGinn?
Yeah, Niall McGinn. Looking back on that was why
come back.
He'd won everything twice, and he was like, "Can I just get £3 million to sign John McGinn?" The Celtic board were like, $2.5 million. Hibs were like, "No, 3. 2.5, 2 pence. 2.5
Lighter, refillable.
Well, Celtic fans like, just buy him. Like, give the manager what he wants. And then he left. And then he's doing what he's doing with Leicester. He's a great coach. He's a great manager.
Nah, beautiful human being, isn't he?
Beautiful, great character.
Did you see what he obviously spoke about with Scott Brown as well, And from the chat, it shows you, I mean, he just is a likeable guy. He's a likeable guy, Rodgers, isn't he? And what he's done with Celtic has been incredible, really, the turnaround, you know. But I mean, so obviously we spoke about your most favourable match day experience. So it was the 5-0, yeah. So I mean, moving on slightly different then, Dan. We'll go for your worst away day. What's your worst away day you've ever had then?
Toss up, and it's different ones for different reasons. One of them similar to what you were saying about last week in terms of like maybe not necessarily the game itself, but the experience of it. It's the only time I've ever been to Easter Road.
Ooh.
And Hibs. And I was going on a supporters bus, not the one I normally go on. It was another one, one of the ones from Dundee that goes to away games. And it was a really weird kick-off. Now you can put some input on this. If you were going to leave from Dundee to go to a match at Hibs, and the kick-off was 1:45. Really weird kick-off time. For the TV. It was 1:45 kick-off.
45, eh?
Yeah.
Right.
What time would you leave Dundee?
But you need to be careful with traffic and
Exactly,
that as well, don't you?
Edinburgh traffic,
Yeah.
and bear in mind you've got to get to the east side of Edinburgh,
Yeah.
so you got longer. It's not like
Well,
it's not like going to Tynecastle.
I mean, I suppose you'd obviously want to be going to the pub and that as well
Exactly.
before the game and
Yeah.
things. So probably like latest 8
Yeah.
in the morning, maybe.
yeah. So not 11:30.
That's ridiculous. For a 12:45
Yeah.
kickoff, 11:30.
Aye.
Wow. Even like normal,
And I'm thinking that
you're not going to make
no,
that. You
I'm
know
thinking,
what I mean?
how unorganised is this?
You got a helicopter?
Yeah, I know. But do you know what the mental thing is? Like this is like a Formula One driver we had driving this bus because like we were like, I'm like, Jesus Christ, we might actually make this. Like how quickly we were going. And then the guy who's running the bus like, fancy a smoke, pull over driver, and we pulled over in like this lay-by, and we spent like 20 minutes so this guy could have like a fag,
Wow.
or a couple of fags. And I'm thinking, well, that's definitely no making this kick off now. We get to Edinburgh, get through like the centre and stuff, get to Leith, and the bus driver goes, where actually is Easter Road? Didn't even know where he was going.
You are joking.
Didn't know where he was going. I'm sitting there
Like,
thinking,
that's us here. You're built up in Tynecastle.
To be fair, that happened to us when we went to the Parkhead final because the driver basically took us to Hampden and I was like, where are you going, mate?
and it's like, essentially, I know it's around here somewhere, but I don't actually. So, like, getting Google Maps out, trying to find Easter Road.
Wow.
We get dropped off at Easter Road.
So what time was that at then?
Oh, this is like, the game started by this point. So we get dropped off at the Hibs end of the ground. So we've got to walk all the way around to the away end. And then I say to the guy who's organised us, right, can I, because I bought a ticket from the bus, so like the bus hands out tickets.
Yeah.
Can I get my ticket? Oh no, I'm actually meeting a guy here who's given us the tickets. I'm like, what? Why didn't you tell us any of this before? And as we're walking past, we hear this big roar from the away end. Celtic have scored. And I was so upset because that was the first time, you know me for like time, right? I'm like, especially with football. I want to be in there like a good half an hour before the game.
Yeah.
And I've had my time in the pub or whatever before. Just gotta like getting in.
Yeah, you chill in that, have your pint and a bit of banter
Yeah.
in that before the game. That's what it's all about.
So
isn't
it was
it?
the first time I'd ever missed a kick-off in my life. That was the
Yeah.
first time I'd ever missed a goal. I've got insane luck of being able to time like going for a pee and stuff in the pie during the
Yeah.
games. I'd never missed a goal.
Just sense it.
And I was just gone in one day. Again, like first world problems.
How old were you then?
Oh, I was like, this was when we were in uni.
Oh, was it? Oh, right, okay.
so it was
Yeah,
uni.
so it's quite recent then.
Yeah,
fairly.
maybe 4 or 5 years. Well, I'll tell you, the game it was when Van Dijk scored his first free kick for Celtic. It was
Right.
that game.
Got you.
1-4-0. Again, first world problem. I lost the way to 1-4-0. But we'll
Life
move on.
is Celtic fan,
I know. We'll move on to the result one was worse. Next, but and then I eventually got in, and it was like half an hour into the game, and not only that, it doesn't end. Well, about 50 minutes to go. All these boys on the bus were like, "Right, we're going to the pub then."
Wow.
I'm like,
So they
Right.
definitely like just wanted to go through for the drink, didn't they?
Yeah,
The jolly day out. They didn't really care about the game then.
and I'm thinking, we're 3-0 up away at Hibs again at the time.
Yeah.
Brilliant result. Like, again, away at Hibs.
Yeah.
Celtic don't have a really good record,
No.
especially in recent years. You
It's
just
a hard game,
you
isn't
seen
it?
Virgil van Dijk out of nowhere because we didn't know he was good at free kicks at this point. Pop one in the top corner,
Aye.
and you want to leave early. And I was hired to, and we'd missed the first half an hour of the game, and they wanted to leave early. And I'm like, this guy's joking. And I convinced them to stay. And then Timu Pukki, Celtic legend,
Pukki.
Timu Pukki ended up scoring.
Did he?
And I was like, you would have missed that goal as well. I'm thinking, so I've
So
never been
did you
back.
just-
I've never been back on that bus.
What was it, the Venga bus?
Oh yeah. Everyone was jumping and I was just raging in the back. This is ridiculous.
We like to party.
I know, too much party and not enough football.
No,
But in
that's
terms of like an experience, that was
just
hell for
dreadful
me.
for
I
you.
hated it.
Aye, no, I can imagine. And like you
And,
say, I know you well. You're big on your timing.
And like I said,
stuff.
tickets for away games, especially for Celtic, are like gold dust, especially Hibs. Unless you've been going to games for years.
yeah.
The paradox with Celtic away tickets is that you can only go to away games if you're on the mailing list, and that means that you've been going to games for years.
So like you
But
kind
can't-
of build up
but
points.
you can't get the points unless you can go to the games. It's
Aye,
it's
it's
quite
wrong,
an exclusive.
isn't it? Yeah.
It's quite exclusive to get away tickets for certain
It's
grounds.
kind of like that, like, you know, the system with
Yeah.
the Tapedeck
Aye,
and stuff
it's
as well.
quite
Like, you
hard.
need to build up a certain amount of points before
Yeah.
you get.
So
Yeah.
to get one's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I still had a good time, like seeing Van Dijk score, but it was spoiled it a wee bit.
Hello everyone, we're back in the room again. So before the breakdown, you were
Yes.
telling me about your best match day experience. Well, not best match day, a match day experience, right?
Yeah.
Now we're going to speak about your worst away day.
Yeah.
So what was
we've
your
al-
worst?
Well, we've already mentioned in terms of maybe the experience.
Aye,
With
but
not
not the-
making the game and stuff. In terms of result,
Aye.
is when we absolutely got smashed by St Mirren in the league. It was a League Cup semi-final at Hampden, and they just absolutely tore us a new one. And it was when that Ismail Gonçalves was the best player in the world for about 6 months.
Right enough.
He ended up at Hearts,
I know.
and just didn't really recapture
Nah, he
it. But
didn't
for St
really.
Mirren, he was unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah,
And,
he was
um,
outstanding there, wasn't he?
A good Celtic team at the time just got absolutely destroyed out of nowhere by St Mirren to the absolute shock of everyone apart from Paul Stephen probably. St Mirren podcast in the future.
Did he call it?
Probably did.
Mystic Paul.
John McGinnis, Wanyama in his back pocket. Kenny McLean, oh. These guys.
That impersonation was bad.
But it was,
wasn't
I think it ended up being 3-2 because I'm sure we scored in the last minute, but it was easily like their game. The scoreline flattered us in the end. It looked better than it actually was.
It was just their day,
And I've
was
never
it?
felt like so like absolutely outplayed by a team in that game, which is mental.
That's mad, eh?
And they just
To be fair,
absolutely-
they did have a good squad back then, didn't they? Because as we mentioned, I mean, had John McGinn, Kenny McLean,
Gonçalves,
and that as well,
Jim Goodwin and all that.
You know what I mean? It's quite a solid squad there, isn't it? I mean, we've seen that. I was waiting to say to you, I've seen that picture not that long ago as well. I think Paul put it up actually on
McLean and
Facebook.
McGinn, St Mirren,
McLean
the
and
Scotland
McGinn
team,
were
yeah.
starting. That was quite cool to see
Leave that
as
for you
well.
to come on, Paul, and you can talk about
Aye,
something.
well, Paul, come on, mate, come on. So yeah, I mean, you've obviously spoke about that. That was your kind of worst away day,
Oh, it's
then,
awful.
wasn't it? Now let's talk about your best away
Best
day.
away day.
What was your best?
My favourite
day?
away day was the only time I've been able to get to a European game.
Right. Okay.
It was Borussia Mönchengladbach away.
Oh.
And it was again not just for the game, which we got a draw, which was a great result.
Oh yeah.
But just for the whole trip,
Aye.
going away with my mates and all that.
That's all about it.
In Germany as well, which is a great place to go. I've been over to Dortmund as well to go and see a Scotland game
I remember
with
that, yeah.
a few of my
Right
pals, and that was amazing. But with Celtic again, that was my best away day. Mönchengladbach 1-1 away from home. Should have won it. McGregor missed a really good chance in the last minute. But it's just unbelievable. If you ever get the chance to follow your team away in Europe, do it.
No. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Definitely.
But obviously money and stuff like that and circumstances. But that was the time I was like, I can do this now, so I've got
Yeah,
to go and
let's
do it.
do it, yeah.
I've got to go and do it. It was
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Champions League away from home, not losing, which is what Celtic normally do. When we get to the Champions League, we get pumped away from home, but we got a result. That was just a great time with my mates. It was awesome. Can't you beat that?
No,
great.
that's your best away day. It's got to
Yeah,
be, isn't
simple.
it? Being abroad as well, it's essentially like a holiday, as
Yeah.
you say. It isn't even. Well, I mean, the game's kind of an added bonus,
Yeah.
isn't it? Almost. I mean, and obviously, I know you like your beer as well. So
Germany.
German beer. Oof. Oh, happy days, mate. Definitely.
But easy.
What about? I mean, is there another away day in your mind? Maybe like a local game? Do you think, or was that just like there's none that really comes close to that experience of being abroad and seeing your team there? That's
it.
kind of the one.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, no, definitely.
The biggest level you can get.
Aye,
Champions
big
League.
stage, yeah,
It's amazing.
brilliant, mate. Can't say I've experienced it often myself.
One day. One day.
So I mean, we've obviously spoke about your worst away day, best away day, mate.
have.
Let's talk about your ultimate 11,
Here we
your
go.
ultimate Celtic 11. Talk
Okay.
to me.
Talk to me. Well, unlike you, abandoning our perfect balance trademarks and all that,
Oh, you
that's the
sticking to it?
formation I'm going to put in.
Oh.
Because he was me thinking that would have been the theme, but you know,
I could do a 4-2-3-1.
you
if
could do.
want.
The great thing about 4-2-3-1,
It's
transitional.
interchangeable.
You can drop back, push forward, and yeah, shake it all about. So, 4-2-3-1,
Aye.
in goal,
Rob Douglas.
very big call between Artur Boric and Fraser Forster. I'm going with Fraser Forster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
the Polish boy not picking the Polish keeper, shocking, eh?
That is shocking.
But very hard. Like on
That is a hard one.
I might say Boric. It's that close.
You're just feeling a very Fraser-y kind of day.
Maybe because Fraser has been there more recently, but Fraser Foster's a sensational goalkeeper. I think he's still got the clean sheet record for the SPL as well, and like longest time gone without conceding a goal. The game against Barcelona in the Champions League obviously stands out as well.
There's a lot of games where he's kind of saved you, hasn't he?
In the cup final,
Rangers as
last
well,
season
right?
against Rangers as well. He was a
Outstanding.
one-man show. Won us the game that day. Like I said, another day I might say Boric, Manchester United saving the penalty.
Yeah.
All the amazing seasons he had, winning leagues, 3 titles in a row he won.
Yeah. And he was a character as well, wasn't he?
And he wound everyone up. It was great.
And he could take a pen as well, can't he?
Oh, he could. Right in the top corner against Dundee United. That was amazing.
What a penalty that was, by the way.
But today I'm going Fraser.
Fraser. Good call, mate.
Right back, I'm going.
I hope you got that back home. Foster. Good call.
Good, yeah.
Not the right spelling.
Don't force it, it's not funny.
So
Gotta let them get it. Right? Don't deconstruct
it's a thinker. I know Ross is struggling back home. But
Speaking of Ross, we'll go for his favourite Dundee United manager of all time, Jackie McNamara. A right back. Loves a good transfer fee in his back pocket.
Right under the table.
But no, Jackie, unbelievable player for Celtic. He's played everywhere as well. Like, I could have put him in midfield, I could have put him left back, right back, everywhere. And he was so good for so many years.
Yeah.
Maybe not one that you would think of straight away, but in terms of maybe younger Celtic fans. But I grew up in that era where I maybe got the tail end of McNamara's career, maybe the last 4 or 5 years, but it's an unbelievable player.
A lot of professionals speak so highly of him as well,
Jackie
mate.
McNamara, so good.
Yeah. Said he was class.
Mentioned earlier on about that first game I went to. He was one of the best players in the park. He like set up the first 2 goals.
Yeah.
McNamara was an unbelievable player. Again, one of these boys that, again, maybe if you weren't around at the time to see him, you wouldn't maybe appreciate how good he actually was. But McNamara was unbelievable. Centre half, I'm going for Bobo Balde. Because how could I not go for Bobo
Bobo's
Balde?
going to get you.
Bobo's going to get you, and he got a lot of people.
Certainly did. He ruined lives, that man.
Yeah, he also got sent off in Seville, which shouldn't silly Bobo, but
Bad Bobo.
Oh, bad Bobo. But again, what a player! I don't think I've seen anyone like him since.
Just an animal, was he?
Oh, big destroyer. He would
eat headers.
He would kill his granny to win a 50-50, you know what I mean? He was one of those guys. He was just such a...
Well, it's like fucking 7-inch studs and that 7-inch
honestly, it's
studs.
Indescribable. It's just Bobo Balde. Like,
yeah, everyone knows.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Everyone who follows Scottish football, when you say Bobo Balde,
like,
it's that
monster.
Absolute mountain of a man.
Aye.
Unbelievable player.
Yeah.
Turned up in a lot of big games for us.
It's kind of who you want at the
Scored
back,
the odd
isn't
goal.
it?
His career ended a bit sourly because there was like contract disputes and stuff. I remember there was like a year where he didn't play because we tried to sell him and he refused to leave because he wasn't happy with the new contract. He would he was quite happy to sit out his contract at Celtic and pick up the money. But the funny thing was, it was about a year. He came back in to play. It was like one game against Dundee United at Tapedeck. I remember I was there because there was an injury crisis at centre half, and like he's been brought out of the reserves.
Yeah.
But he was loved that much. It's like we almost didn't care. It was like, okay, Bobo's back, great.
Yeah.
It's
that's
like,
it, yeah.
But yeah, Bobo was the man. Loved him bits. He had to be in.
Aye.
And right next to him has got to be Virgil van Dijk, because Virgil van Dijk is the best defender I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, he's got all, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was only there. Rolls Royce player. He was only there at Celtic for 2 years. But what 2 years?
He's got all as
it's
well.
just a pity we couldn't hang on to him for maybe a couple of years longer. But he was too good to stay in Scotland, especially at that point where Celtic were like, it was the one team league back then. That's when the closest thing we had to challenge was Aberdeen, who did their best, but there's always going to be that ceiling with Aberdeen, let's be honest. But how could you not put Virgil van Dijk in that team?
Yeah, technically and everything, he's world class, isn't he? Well, as he's shown just now, even at Liverpool, he's probably the best defender in the world.
It'll be good when he gets back from injury, and I'm just hoping that it hasn't ruined him, because obviously it's a big injury he got. And it's a question, maybe spoke earlier on about Caballero. Sorry, not earlier on, last week. Because about how when Caballero came back from his leg break, he was never the same player. Well, thankfully for me, when Larsson came back from his, he actually kicked on.
Yeah.
Obviously, Van Dijk's not broke his leg, but was it his ACL he done? That's a big injury. Some players come back from things like that and they've lost a yard of pace, or they're just never the same again.
Yeah, definitely.
So fingers crossed that he does come back. But what a player he was for Celtic.
Yeah, definitely. Very good player.
Who do you think I'm picking at left back?
Lee Naylor.
Oh yeah. Another guy.
Is it Gary?
What?
Is it Gary?
He would have been second choice, but it's Tierney. Of course it's Tierney. Of course it's Tierney. Kieran Tierney.
You like Kieran Tierney, do you? Just a little.
He's alright. But he's the man.
Yeah.
I miss him
Dearly.
so much. So much.
Remember the transfer deadline? You were obviously on about the link to Arsenal, and you were
As soon as I found out he was linked to Arsenal, I thought, this is it. He's going.
I remember there was a few bids, and it kept getting knocked back, and you were like, maybe they won't meet it, but obviously they ended up.
It was the eternal.
25
million. Yeah. Bargain. Like, let's be
But
honest.
he's obviously, like you say, well, as you've said to me before, Dan, he's obviously been kicked up and down the pitch. You know, when he's been at
got injured
Celtic,
again
injuries and that, you know.
I genuinely believe on his day he's the best left back in the world. I genuinely believe that. He's that good. And you might laugh at that. Andy Robertson.
I'm a Dundee fan, but
I mean that.
No, but to be fair, you see the most recent Scotland game. Well, not just the most recent, but the past few Scotland games. He's been man of the match every game.
Got 3 assists the other night.
He was incredible. But you see, like, another thing is where he actually ended up a lot of the time. So he ended up being the one actually at the left wing back role, and Robertson kind of was like, "Oh, where will I stand?" Almost,
Tierney,
but he was taken by the scruff of the neck.
Tierney,
you know what I mean? Go and do
he's
something.
always been a player that he doesn't just get the ball and cross it. He'll get to the line and cut it
I love
back.
it.
That's what he does.
And he can pick out people. That's it. Because there's so many people who'll get there and just deliver it.
One criticism of Liverpool, I don't mean to make this Tierney versus Robertson, but one criticism of Liverpool has been, especially this season, they'll maybe just put loads of aimless crosses from deep into the box, but that's how they play. Whereas Tierney's the kind of fullback that I prefer, that will get to the line, bring it back. My dad calls it a Celtic goal. Winger or fullback gets it to the line, cuts it back, player coming in, bang.
But Tierney is a very good player, we know that. And I think he's taken it to a new level as well.
He will go on from Arsenal to play for another team.
Yeah.
He could easily play for a Barcelona or a Bayern Munich. Well, they've got Davies, for example. But he's that level.
Aye.
He can go on.
He is class, mate. We definitely, without a doubt, he is class.
Man City, a team like that. I fully expect him to go on to a bigger a team playing at a bigger level than Arsenal right now.
And I'm saying to someone the other day as well, the other thing I love about Tierney is that he likes to drive with it. You don't really see that a lot anymore.
No.
You know, where players will actually just run with the ball and just go forward. It might seem simple, but you don't hardly see any players doing that willingness to just drive with the ball. It's very kind of like old style, but I like
He's
it.
a throwback, yes.
Because like when you think of like players now, if they get it, they'll pass side,
It's all
back.
pass and move, yeah.
Like there's not that kind of goal with people anymore where they'll just run. And you've seen it many times.
He takes games by the scruff of his neck.
That's
He says, right, I'm doing
exactly.
this.
And that's what I like about Tierney as well. He'll just run at people, and that's what you want to see. That's what gets you kind of off your seat, doesn't it? So you know what? I agree with you on that one, mate. Yeah, left back.
Not easy, Gary.
No. But mind you, he did have some.
Oh, Emilio was great for
he had
years.
some great years,
but then
didn't he?
The apprentice became the master.
Outgrew him.
I know. Right, midfield. 2 sitting midfielders.
I know who you're going to say.
Scott Brown.
Scott Brown.
Enough said. Scott Brown. He has to be there. 9 in a row winning captain. 10 league titles. He's just waiting to leave at the end of this season. It's really sad that we're not going to send him off as like fans in the ground. But he's had his testimonial and things like that, and potential future Celtic manager, I think, as well. Once he's done his coaching.
What's your thoughts on that, Dan? Would you have not hoped to have had him as a coach at Celtic?
Ideally,
or do you think that he still has it in him to wants to play?
He still wants to play.
Right.
And you have to respect that. But I think even if Celtic had done the 10 this year, I still would have think Celtic would have said, right, you're starting to go on the way out now, because he's getting old. He's 35 now. Now's the time where you got to be playing guys like Sorrow and Turnbull and giving them game time, because they're the future.
That's it.
But he still thinks, I can still do this as a first team player for a couple of years.
He's got that attitude, doesn't he, to win.
You know,
that's
fair
it.
play to him.
Yeah.
I think he'll end up hopefully back at us one day as a coach or as a manager. But he'll go on and he'll do good things as a coach, because he's got that about him.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like, obviously, like you say, what he's experienced in the game, you'll be able to explain that to young boys coming through, and that will benefit from that, which is great for our game in general anyway, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And beside him, I've got his partner in crime, Carl McGregor.
I knew you were going to say
it has to be, because again, I spoke earlier about like the peak
that's
of the...
That's quite big calls there though, 2-something.
Yeah. That's how highly I rate Carl McGregor.
Wow.
I've put him in front of guys like Paul
say,
Lambert and Neil Lennon.
That's a huge
big
call.
players.
But maybe even Petrov as well to an extent, no?
McGregor's sensational. I said it on the first episode about Scotland's work. I talked forever about how good Carl McGregor is at football.
She said he could do anything.
He could do everything. And them two together, again, I spoke earlier about the peak of like that 9 in a row era. That was the midfield every week for years. Brown and McGregor.
Yeah. And they just done it, didn't they? They turned up.
They would both get in that team, in my opinion, individually, and they both get in as a tandem. Fantastic. So on the right, I am putting Shinsuke Nakamura.
Say no more, eh?
He could open a tin of beans with his left foot, as they said. Free kick after free kick after free kick. Big goal after big goal after big goal. Champions League.
It's technically unreal.
Champions League Cup, it didn't matter. It didn't matter what minute of the game it was, it didn't matter how much pressure was on him. He just pop in a free kick for fun. And he would...
Yeah, it's just he was a very good player.
Unbelievable player. I find it mental that he didn't play at a higher level consistently than he did. I mean, we got his best years. We got him from Espanyol. And I'm thinking, how is he only playing, like, no disrespect to Espanyol, how is he only playing for Espanyol?
Yeah.
How did we end up getting his prime? Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then after us, he went to, I'm telling a lie. He went to Espanyol after us. It was, I think it was a team called Regina in Italy that we got him from.
Oh, right, okay. I didn't know that.
So it was like, it was almost like a Kante kind of thing, like plucked from this absolute gem from like...
And he was, obviously the player that he was, he was... Yeah, some player for he has done, definitely.
And he just kind of chilled out on the right and came in and put crosses in, scored goals from long range or popped in free kicks. And he was the best player from like Strachan's era, hands down, Nakamura, unbelievable player. And I remember I saw him score. The funny thing was, he wasn't just free kicks. I saw him score a hat-trick at Tapedeck once, and they were all from open play. So he could do more. He wasn't just a one-trick pony. It's unbelievable. Probably the best technical player I've ever seen.
Had a lot
unbelievable player.
Yeah, definitely.
On the left, I'm putting Alan Thompson.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Alan Thompson.
Right. No McGeady?
No. McGeady's nowhere near Thompson's level.
No?
Again, Thompson's one of these guys I think maybe gets forgotten in terms of how good he actually was. I would argue that he could have been in the England team at that point, because the one thing England missed at that golden generation era was a left winger. And he was...
Yeah, you've said that before, Dan.
He was like the closest thing to a left-footed... the closest thing to a left-footed David Beckham England had at that point. He would have been perfect for them. But again, he got overlooked because he played in the SPL.
Well, that's what I was saying to you earlier, isn't it? Like, it kind of shows you, as we spoke about with Larsson as well, you know, a lot of players tend to get overlooked because of the league they're playing in, but it just showed with Larsson, he proved that even like he's a world-class player, you know, by going to these teams like Barcelona,
and Thompson did it in
etc.
Big games as well. Against English teams, he scored a free kick at the Kop against Liverpool in the FA Cup.
I seen that the other day. Actually,
it was almost. I always saw that as kind of like, maybe should have played him. Maybe should play Paul Scholes in the middle where he actually plays, rather than sticking him out on the left wing.
I never understood that one.
But Sven Goran Eriksson for you. But yeah, I'll get Alan Thompson. Again, another big game player. Would score goals in derbies for fun.
Yeah.
Would turn up when you need him. Could put a ball anywhere. Unbelievable player, Alan Thompson. He, apart from Larsson, He was my favourite player.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was that good.
That's mental.
Alan Thompson, an unbelievable
I
player.
would never have thought that as well, Dan.
Yeah. So this is maybe...
Attacking mid in the hole there.
I can't not put Scott Sinclair in.
Oh, wow.
That's a big call.
What, for the centre attacking mid role?
Yeah, just he can have a free roll. Him and Nakamura, Thompson can change about.
Wow.
I loved Scott Sinclair.
Wonderful.
Magical. When he runs in the number 10 position, fast as lightning.
I was really surprised. I thought
Yeah.
you would have chose Maloney or something
No.
there.
No way. I love Shaun Maloney, but
Maloney was incredible for you, though.
so was Sinclair. That invincible season he had, he was one of the best performances I've ever seen over a season by any Celtic player ever. And again, I think history will maybe be kinder to him. I think that first season he had where he scored like 20 odd goals from the left wing. It's almost like we expected him of that, or the media expected him of that, like the second and third years, fourth years. It was like, well, no, like this guy's just had the season of his life,
Yeah.
and now we're like, it was almost like he his own success hurt him. But again, every year he was there, he was an amazing player for us. He scored the winner on the only time I've got a ticket for Ibrox as well, so that holds a special place in my heart. Him coming in at the back post and popping it in.
Yeah.
Another guy that he scored goals in derbies and in clutch situations where we needed him to. On his debut, he came off the bench and scored the winner against Hearts, Rodgers' first game. He scored a hat-trick at Tynecastle later on in that season to win us the league. He's...
A lot of memorable moments.
Yeah. I loved him. I thought he was great. And I called it as soon as we signed him. I thought, Rodgers knows this guy. He's going to be great.
Yeah.
People were saying, oh, what a Celtic signing this boy for? He's like failed at City and Villa and stuff. And what we're doing. Like, no, trust me, this guy's going to be very, very good. And he was excellent. And he actually gets... that. Again, I know it's a big call, but I loved watching him play for Celtic.
Fair enough, mate.
And,
It's your team.
He's in my team.
It's you. I think I could guess who you're going to have as the
King
striker.
Larsson's up front.
Chris
Of course he
Sutton.
is. Oh yeah. That was one of the things I'm thinking. Do I play 5 in midfield or do I put 2 up front? Who do I put? But then the question was, who goes up front with Larsson? In terms of when I've been watching Celtic, the 5 guys, you got Henrik,
The good brothers.
Sutton, Hartson, and it's Dembele and Edouard after that. Picking between those 4, I thought it was too hard, so I'm putting in another midfielder.
Yeah.
Because the 4 of them were like that good, and I loved Sinclair, so it was an excuse to put Sinclair in. But yeah, we've already spoke about Larsson, and
You don't need to say
you
anything.
don't need me to talk about Henrik Larsson. Go and watch how good Henrik Larsson was at football, because he's the best, and it'll be a long time before anyone even gets close to him in terms of quality, playing as a striker in Scotland.
For how much you paid for him as well, what was it? It was pennies, really,
600
wasn't
grand,
it?
something like that.
Mental.
Probably the best pound for pound signing ever.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But like I said, go and watch Henrik. You don't need me to talk about him. I've talked about him enough already.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, Dan. And that's you then. You've wrapped up your
That'll do.
Ultimate Club 11.
Yeah.
Want to hear what you guys think as well. I mean, obviously we know a lot of Celtic fans anyway, but obviously we'd like to hear what your teams would be.
Yeah.
Do you agree with Dan? Would you have Sinclair in the attacking mid-roll? Leave in the
Maybe
comments.
shoehorn
See
them
what
in,
you
but
think.
you know. You put Nakamura at number 10 and put Sinclair on the right.
Aye, definitely.
Up for a debate.
Thanks again, guys. Hope you enjoyed.
Like, subscribe.
Ring that bell. Judy, bye.
Shut up.